Today, we're digging into U.S. immigration policy, but maybe not how you usually hear about it. We're looking past the humanitarian headlines.
Yeah, we're going deeper into the structural stuff, the economics, corporate strategy.
And specifically connecting it to the claim for reparations for foundational Black Americans, FBAs.
Right. That population whose debt is sort of perpetually pushed aside, systemically postponed.
So our mission here is to really unpack how this system functions, not just the politics around it.
Exactly. And the core idea we're exploring, coming from the analysis, is that the whole legal framework, like the Immigration and Nationality Act, it basically works like a corporate utility. That's the term used.
A corporate utility, meaning?
Meaning it's primarily set up to meet this constant business demand for affordable labor, cheap inputs.
Okay. And the humanitarian parts, asylum, refugees.
Well, the argument is that those numerically limited categories, they provide the moral cover.
The moral cover. So the system looks legitimate, politically speaking.
That's the idea presented. Keeps the whole thing running.
Okay, let's stick with this corporate utility idea. If businesses are the main interest group pushing policy, how do we see that?
Well, you see it in what they lobby for, right? Firms want basically two things. First, a steady supply of affordable, low-skilled immigrant labor. And second, specialized high-skilled workers, often through things like the H-1B visa program.
And crucially, the source argues this isn't just, oh, we can't find workers. It's driven by cutting costs.
Overwhelmingly, yes. It's presented as a cost reduction strategy, not just a gap-filling one.
And this strategy, this reliance on lower-cost immigrant labor, it has real consequences for Native workers. The source focuses on FBAs here.
Absolutely. When you structurally depend on this external labor pool, it messes with normal market forces. It suppresses wage growth for low-skilled Native workers who should be seeing wages rise in a tighter market. And the impact on FBAs is highlighted.
And there's data on this displacement, right? It sounds pretty significant.
Oh, it is. The material we looked at estimates that immigration between 1980 and 2000, it could explain something like 20 to 60%. Yeah, a huge range, I know. But 20 to 60% of the wage decline for low-skilled Black men. And maybe 25% of the drop in their employment rates.
Yeah, that's massive potential displacement just from structural competition.
It's framed as catastrophic, yeah.
And it's not just low-skill jobs. You mentioned H-1B visas. The source says there's abuse there, too, for a discount.
That's what a detailed audit found, yes. Specifically with IT outsourcing firms using the H-1B system.
And the discount was?
Documented at about 36%. They could hire H-1B workers for 36% less than comparable domestic workers.
Oh, so much for just filling expertise gaps nobody else can fill.
Right. It undermines that narrative quite a bit, according to the analysis.
Okay, so we have this picture. A system potentially displacing FBA workers, costing opportunities. This leads directly to the corrective justice argument. Defining foundational Black Americans descendants of U.S. chattel slavery as having this unique inherited disadvantage.
A singular disadvantage is the term used.
And the claim for reparations isn't just like a request. It's framed as a debt of the state.
Exactly, a debt that logically has to be addressed before taking on new discretionary spending.
They use that parent-child analogy, right? Fix the kid you already have before adopting another one.
Yeah, repair the existing relationship and harm first.
So let's talk numbers. What kind of debt are we talking about for FBAs, according to this perspective?
The figure cited by advocates, based on closing the racial wealth gap, is a minimum, a baseline of $20 trillion.
$20 trillion, okay. That's the debt claimed.
That's the scale of the financial transfer they argue is needed to correct for centuries of extraction and suppression.
Now, let's compare that $20 trillion debt figure with what the U.S. actually spends right now on the system that enables this corporate utility.
Yeah, the contrast is, well, it's stark. For fiscal year 2024, the budget just for immigration enforcement, CBP, and ICE combined.
How much?
Over $29 billion.
Yeah.
Annually. That's just the operational cost to maintain the system.
$29 billion a year. And within that budget, where does the money go?
Well, this is interesting. The source points out an inversion. Congress put $3.43 billion just into funding immigration detention centers.
Okay.
Compare that to only $424 million for all refugee and asylum processing and adjudication.
So detention funding is almost 8 times higher than actually processing asylum claims.
Roughly, yeah. Nearly 3 times higher than the entire adjudication budget mentioned in that specific comparison. It suggests the priority is heavily on control, on enforcement.
Rather than humanitarian processing or, dealing with historical debts.
Precisely. It's seen as prioritizing the utility over care or atonement.
Which brings us to the conclusion in the source material. It calls for pretty fundamental changes.
It does. It argues for structural reform. Redirecting that entire $29 billion annual enforcement budget.
Redirecting it where?
Towards FBA reparations and direct investment in those communities.
And there was another part too, right? A legal designation.
Yes. Mandating that descendants of U.S. chattel slavery be formally recognized as a federally protected class. It's about fundamentally reordering national priorities and obligations.
So, to wrap this up, if we can consistently find the political will, the structural capacity to spend tens of billions every year.
Yeah, that $29 billion plus.
Just to operate this system, this corporate labor strategy.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say that there's essentially zero comparable funding or structural commitment towards settling a documented $20 trillion historical debt owed to foundational Black Americans?
What does that massive difference in functional spending tell you, the listener, about how the nation actually defines its interests versus its obligations?
Nothing to think about.